Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Former Athlete Society Accountability Call. And if you are here live, thank you, right? I just right from the get go, thank you very much for tuning in. There's a lot of videos that you could watch online, and you're tuning into this one, so I appreciate you there. Now, if you are watching this later, this is your call to lean in, press play, and simply engage. Now, for all of you that might be new, my name is Adam Ringler, and I've been a strength coach for nearly 20 years at this point. And I'm trying to take all of the lessons that I've learned throughout all of my collegiate experience, distill it down to the most simple, most practical, most usable information, and deliver it to you. Now, I want you to imagine just for a moment that you used to train with that consistency that you had during college, with deadlines, with external accountability. Now, whether that's from a coach, your teammates, the season, the schedule, right? All of those factors combined. Now, now that you're graduated, your eligibility is gone. And suddenly, that structure that you once knew, it's vanished. That real struggle, it's not starting again. It's staying consistent when nobody is watching, right? This call is all about consistency. It's about building habits. It's about making decisions. It is about creating systems so you don't drift over the next, I don't know, 30, 20 some minutes or so. I'm going to give you that practical advice. I'm going to give you those areas where you can commit to. Now, right now, before we're done, right, you're going to learn a bunch of different information about different ways that you could lock into your training through your accountability systems, through your nutrition, through your lifestyle, all of those things. And the idea is to help you maintain your health, your performance, and discipline long past your playing days. Now, that said, each section will begin with a maybe something to get you out of that mindset that you're currently in, right? I want you to be able to dig into the principles, the stories, the struggles, the application of what we're talking about. And then maybe by the end of all of this, you'll have some clarity and some concrete actions that you can begin putting into motion. So, we have a number of different topics that we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about advice and some motivation things, some productivity things that you can do, some real world tactical progress that you can make with your training and your lifestyle. And then we'll dive into something kind of, maybe technical for that, for your training, right? Now, all of these are crafted especially for former athletes, people who once had external, maybe structure, and now must sort of let their systems build their progress throughout their day and throughout the week and throughout their training. So if that sounds like you, tune in, right? Because we have a great show today. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Now, I'm going to set the first principle with this. I've been doing my hardest task first thing for over a decade. And here's what almost nobody tells you. Your day will hinge on that decision. So, what do I mean by that? Let me start with maybe a story. Several years ago, when I was working with one of my collegiate teams, I used to challenge myself and my athletes to commit sort of to what we called the one frog every morning. Now, that frog is the task that you dread, the thing that your brain keeps pushing aside. Now, it might be a writing proposal, it might be a term paper, a difficult conversation, a long meeting, a training when you really don't feel like it. But nonetheless, you have to do it first. Why? Because when you tackle the hardest thing first in your day, everything else feels lighter. So let me break down the principle and why it works, especially for former athletes. Now, biological bandwidth is highest early in your day. Your glucose, your motivation, your mental clarity, those things diminish over the course of the day. And if you leave the hardest task for later in the afternoon when you're redlined and you're tired and distracted by decision fatigue, the brain says, let's not do that. No need. So it will find excuses. Now, you also get to build momentum. When you get that one big win earlier in your day, you feel like maybe you're gaining a little bit of swagger. You start to believe I can do more than what I thought that I could in a normal day, right? You also shrink the fear. The more you avoid something, the bigger it looms. But when you cut into it early, you start making progress at it. That monster starts looking smaller by lunchtime. And you also end up neutralizing procrastination. Now, a lot of us, especially former athletes, right? We've got used to the idea of, I'll just do it later under pressure. And that's excellent, right? We've all succeeded probably in some ways during those conditions, but guess what? It just doesn't work as you get older and into the professional world. So eating the frog is actually a really great hack that forces you into that moment where you have to confront the task early. so you don't get punted into it when your energy is now gone. Now, you might say, okay, well, that sounds cool, but what is my frog? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe your frog is doing your strength session before life gets in the way, or cooking or meal prepping your meal so that you can get ahead of your nutrition for the week. Maybe it's doing something about your mobility or your prehab habits, right? You have to decide that. I can't decide that for you. But here's how you operationalize it. Choose one frog a day and don't overcommit, right? You can't do 12 different things all at once, just one. Pick your biggest one thing that you need to change. And then maybe block a time early. I like first hour after I wake up, but you got to figure out your peak moment. I can't decide that for you. And then set it as a non negotiable. Treat it like a hard appointment. Don't allow distractions, no emails, no calls, no social media until the frog task is done. And then celebrate the completion, no matter what, right? No matter how messy it is, the win is actually finishing. Now, you're probably going to face some resistance along the way. Hey, Adam, I'm not that motivated today, or I'm tired, or something else got in my way, right? It happens to all of us, right? Now, I have a meeting or I have something that's really important for work. Yes, I get it. But the difference between people who stay consistent and those who drift is doing hard things even when you don't feel like they're going to pay off. And that's why your frog is often, it's not glamorous, but every single time you commit to doing it, you reinforce that you're dependable, that you choose discipline over comfort. So, that advice aside, build your days around doing the frog test first, right? And let's shift the mindset because the discipline is without any direction, it never pans out. If you're joining us on these calls, right? I've already introduced myself. Again, I'll just throw it up there. My name's Adam Ringler. I've been a strength and conditioning coach at the collegiate level, P4 level, Division 1, all of my professional career. And I'm taking all of the lessons I've learned and trying to give it to you. That aside, I would love for us to do a couple different things here. I'm just trying to find it. Number one, this is my Instagram handle. Maybe head over to Instagram, give me a like, right? Just simply head over there, give me a follow on our Instagram page, and let me know what you like, what you dislike. I try to drop a lot of content over there all of the time, and I'm trying to give you a behind the scenes access of the life of a strength conditioning coach. I would love for you to join it because, quite frankly, I think you would actually love the content that we are posting over there as well. So let's move on to our next accountability topic. Work with the coach, right? The antidote to your own self sabotage. Now, everybody that I know, everybody says, just coach yourself. And here's why that's exactly how you lose over 365 days of the year. Let me ask you this. How many times have you shifted your goalpost in life? How many times have you told yourself, okay, next week I'll do it better? But you've already told yourself that last week. That is human nature. When no one's watching, we nudge the bar lower and lower and lower, or further and further away. Humans are flawed. We lie to ourselves gently over time, almost so much so that we don't even notice that we're doing it. And that is precisely why a coach matters, even if you've already had coaches in your athletic life. Because in this phase of life, you need somebody whose job it is to protect you from yourself. So here's what a coach gives you: accountability that you can't fudge, right? No, you can't lie to you. It's so easy to lie to yourself, right? You can move the goalposts, you can fudge your own rules, you can downgrade, but you can't dodge a coach. Well, you can, but then you ultimately lose. But you can't dodge a coach. That external accountability forces clarity, right? It gives you direction, gives you objective feedback that you oftentimes can't even see your own blind spots. A coach tells you what works, what's broken, and what's maybe biased by your own ego. And then also consistency. Now, you need guardrails. When you're stressed or you're tired or you're distracted, you will drift. Everybody does it, right? A coach helps you stay on course, re anchors you to your priorities. A coach also gives you some strategic progression, right? We often see what the next move is when you don't, right? And they prevent you from overreaching or underreaching. But most importantly, maybe they also provide you that mental and emotional support. Because sometimes what you need most isn't a plan. You just need a push, a word, some encouragement, some reframing. And coaches provide that. Now, look, I'm not selling coaching, right? I've done self coaching phases, I've drifted, I've done it all. I know how addictive it is to want to tweak your own programs, right? I do it all the time. But I found when I reintroduce someone external to my ecosystem, my world, my coaching and athlete environment, right? It pushes me. My growth accelerates. And it's because that environment compounds work in both directions, upward and downward. Now, if you're in this phase and you're saying, but I don't want to pay, or I don't want to commit, or I don't want to open up, that's fine. That's your resistance talking. Now you are worth it. Your body is worth it. Your performance is worth it. Your fitness is worth it. Your health is worth it. Right? It's a bit of humility saying, I can't do it best by myself. But that humility, yeah, that's strength, right? So here's how you maybe integrate some coaching or at least some external accountability practically into your environment. You have to find somebody who has walked the path before, somebody with experience that you can respect, and somebody that can also commit to regular check-ins, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, once or twice a month, whatever it might be. You also need to be able to share some real data, whether it's training or your nutrition or logs or progress photos. Don't sugarcoat it. And you also have to have this relationship where there's direct questions and direct answers. What's limiting me? What's the next focus? We have to lock into consequences. If you don't follow through, there has to be some consequences to this. And that might just be your pride, right? Or a small financial um, something at stake, right? When you pay for coaching. You'll find that over 365 days, that external push keeps you aligned. Self-coaching, right? That rogue self-coaching world would have you subtly drift 30 feet back without ever even noticing. So now that you know that you need somebody external, right? You need that sort of internal scaffolding. That brings us to the productivity piece, capturing your thoughts, organizing your life, and externalizing your brain. And that's my next point that I want to talk about in this accountability call. But before I do, a couple different things here just from the get-go. If you have yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel, this is my invitation, right? I would love for you to just simply like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to this video, subscribe, and when you do that, hit that notification bell. That allows these videos to go out in the algorithm. That allows for us to continue to grow and get this information out to other former athletes as well. So let's move on to this next piece because I think you're gonna like this next piece. This one's kind of cool. Now, what do I mean by externalizing your mind? For me, I carry 3 separate notebooks all day long. Now, you might say, Adam, that sounds a little bit obsessive, but it's the only way that I don't lose my mind. And for me, it helps me stay consistent. So, one of the biggest leaks in human productivity is the thought that, oh, yeah, I'll remember this later. Well, guess what? Spoiler alert, you won't. You'll either forget, you'll procrastinate, or you'll mull it over to death. And that causes mental overhead, distraction, decision fatigue. So, what's the antidote? You have to externalize it, get it out of your brain and get it into a system. So, here's what I do. And I've refined this system over many, many years. I have a training log notebook, and everything that pertains to my workouts, progress notes, our lists, fatigues, movement, technique, all that, right? It goes into that one. It is right here. That's my training log. And I carry it to the gym every single time that I train. I also have a personal notebook. This is where all my ideas, my journaling, right, goes into here. I dump thoughts, right, reflections, ideas, random mental clusters, all of that. I also have a planning notebook, and that one is my bullet journal or my daily plan book. And at different times of the day, I grab all 3 of them. I grab the most relevant one that I need at that moment, right? And I do that. Why is this so powerful? Why do I do this? It reduces the mental clutter, right? I don't have to carry all these ideas, tasks, and stress in my head. It also, for me, keeps a record, a history. When I feel stuck, I can look back, I can see patterns, I can see progress. It also separates my domains. My training doesn't bleed into my personal, which doesn't bleed into my professional, right? And my to-do lists and my dreams and all of that. It also allows me to enable what I call context switching. When you switch from work to gym, to reflection, to carrying over ideas and only relevant sort of business information. So how do you make this practical? Well, you choose your medium. If you like analog, get actual notebooks like I do. If you prefer something digital, use separate apps on iOS or Android. And then create domains or buckets and use those notebooks per that domain and resist mixing everything together, right? Take 5 minutes and dump everything up and use it in real time. When a thought comes to you, drop it into the relevant notebook rather than letting it orbit in your head. And then maybe once per week, review your notebook in your training logs, see trends in your plan, whatever it might be, in your journal, and reflect over the course of a week or a month. Now, Let me illustrate with just one small example. A couple months ago, I was juggling some projects and some coaching and some content creation and some training, and I started losing keys to what I needed to be doing next. Right? I scribbled in multiple random places, or note cards, or post-it notes. Right? It was fragmented at best. Then when I went back to my dedicated notebook system, within a week, I regained my mental clarity. Within a month, I was already hitting those goals, right? I was accomplishing those tasks. The difference wasn't working harder. It was just using smarter brain hygiene, if you will, right? You have to be careful because this is the only useful if you actually use them. The trap is buying notebooks. Sure, you can buy a bunch of notebooks, sure, whatever, right? But if you never open it and you never record anything, the habit, right? It's gone. You never even established one in the first place. So the structure gives your mind breathing room, but structure without feedback is blind. You need real signals about how your body is changing, and that's where maybe this next topic actually comes into play, right? And I want to talk about this one because this one's cool. But before I do, I'm just looking at the clock. We're about 20 minutes in. Um, and I would like to remind you of this. This is my personal website. It's adamringler.com. This is where you can go. You can join us for the Forever Free Blueprint. That is our free subscription. You'll get access to our newsletters, the Workaholics newsletter, the monthly musings, all the interesting things. You'll get access to all the articles that we publish in the free tier. But here as well, you can join us here at the Former Athlete Society, and this is where you can sign up for that. So let's move on, right? Because I think this one's really cool as well. Your scale is lying to you, but your mirror isn't. This one thing saved me from chasing illusions in my physique. And so let me just say this plainly. The scale is sort of fickle, right? It's a dishonest metric at best. It fluctuates wildly based on your hydration, your gastric content, sodium, glycogen, all of that. If you let the scale drive your mood, you will be on a roller coaster up and down. Meanwhile, the one thing that you can trust is visual feedback, and that's progress photos. In physique, assessment, we don't care whether you weigh 225 or 235. In that moment, we care how you look, your symmetry, your shape, your proportions. That is your reality. So here's how I use progress photos and maybe why you should consider using them too. Weekly check-ins. Pick one time per week, same day, same time, same lighting, same outfit to take front and back and side photos. I do this religiously every single week. Find yourself a neutral posture, right? Stand, relax, no flexing or anything, and just use that consistent posture the entire time. Now, here's the weird part. Probably minimal clothing, something you always wear, whether it's brief shorts, a minimal top, a female, a sports bra, right? For dudes, probably topless and your boxer briefs or whatever, so that you can physically and visibly see the changes. Store it into a folder. Don't delete it. Don't over edit it. I know resist those temptations. And then just compare side by side. Use sort of week one versus week two versus week four, etc. And then you have to be able to ask yourself visual questions like, is the quad sweep sharper? Is there less belly protrusion? Are my muscles looking a little bit more defined and have more filling more evenly, right? Those things really matter, right? You'll see truth. Even if the scale says, hey, you're 2 pounds heavier, you may look leaner, right? The mirror reveals layers. So you'll make better decisions. If you saw visually, maybe you need to adjust your macros, your training volume, your recovery, right? It also allows you to sustain motivation. Tangible evidence is encouraging. I'm telling you this. And I'll give you this caution, right? This photo habit can also backfire though. So if you become addicted or overly critical to yourself, right? So just be cautious with this. Treat it as feedback, not judgment. Don't dwell on it. See, decide, adjust, and move forward, right? That would be my recommendation here. Now, I do want to move on to one more topic, but before I do, take a moment, please, right? Hit the notification bell there because we are dropping videos on YouTube all of the time, and I want to make sure that you get access to it. So hit the notification bell on this video. And certainly, if you have not yet done it, I'm looking at our analytics and I know that we can end up having a couple more likes, a couple more follows, and certainly more comments in it. So leave us a comment as well. Let's move on to our last thing. You have to let the result tell you what you must change. So everybody wants a blueprint. And here's the real blueprint. Let your results write it for you. We live in an era of dogma. People religiously follow one training system, whether it's all heavy or all volume or all hypertrophy or all strength, without paying attention to your body's feedback. And that's a mistake. The better approach is flexible, it's responsive. It's let your results tell you what to adjust. Now, I do this for my own training all of the time. So, for an example, my back responds explosively to heavy compound work. I'll go brutally hard on barbell rows, deadlifts, pulls, etc. But my arms, yeah, they behave differently. They often lag, especially when I don't do direct sort of work. So for my arms, I shift into a more lighter, stricter, high execution, higher volume work. So yeah, 90% of my programming might look like DC training, but 10% of it is volume based, and that's okay. And it's probably actually really better. So here's my logic. Different muscles respond differently. You can't treat every body part the exact same. The compound muscles, like your legs and backs, right, often tolerate and respond to heavier loads. And smaller muscle groups often need more volume, more stress, more variety, more frequency. So we have to get out of this dogmatic approach of one style fits all. When your progress stalls, don't blame yourself immediately. Instead, look at your data: volume, load, rest, execution. What variable is the limiting factor? And also maybe experiment with your boundaries, right? You don't need to scrap your entire system. Just change one variable, maybe rep range, maybe tempo, rest, angle, load, and then ultimately track, measure, use your training log, record sets, reps, RPE, RIR, pain, fatigue, etc. But ultimately, as well, you have to respect recovery. If your CNS is fried, pushing heavy everywhere will backfire. Some days you'll need to deload, and that's fine. Shift to higher rep work, right? I've talked about that on other accountability calls as well. So let me walk you through maybe a small micro example real quick. Suppose your arms haven't grown in 6 weeks. You look at your progress photos, you look at your training logs, you notice your heavy compound days uh, beam fatigue into your arms. You rarely bring direct work with attention to maybe tempo. So instead of throwing away your entire program, just shift, right? Lighten the direct work to 8 to 12 reps, strict tempo, strict technique, maybe supersets, maybe higher frequency. You can keep your compounds heavy, but you monitor your weekly progress photos and your measurements, and you let those results guide whether you persist or you adjust, right? That would be my recommendation. So that said, you don't need to abandon your core system. You just need to evolve it. Your results will write the playbook. All right. That said, guys, I think we're going to come to the end of our accountability call for today. Hopefully, there's something in this entire video that you loved, that you can take away from over, 27-ish some minutes of this video. And if you did, I would love for this one ask, is that either head over to Instagram right now, you pause the video and give me a follow right there on the main screen, or better yet, do me this one favor and subscribe to this channel, right? Hit the subscribe button on our videos and allow this to get into the algorithm a little bit more, right? Do those two things. I want to thank you for watching this video. I want to thank you for giving up some time investing into yourself. And if any of this resonated, I would love to hear your comments on this video. So please drop the comments down below. I would love that. Thank you so much, everybody. And until next time, we will be dropping the next video, should be our Q&A call. So you bring some questions, whether it's in the comments in the Former Athlete Society or at the website. You can also email me at youtube@adamringler.com, and I will take those questions and I will spin them up and I will answer them on our next call. So appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much. Until next time, I will see you.